Okay, hello everyone. So in this video I'm going to discuss about the characteristics of a chemical reaction. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे मैं क्या करूंगा, मैं characteristics of chemical reactions में discuss करूंगा. This video will be completely in a bilingual way. Like I'll try to explain it in English as well as a bit of Hindi as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain you about chemical reaction here. Sorry, the characteristics of the chemical reaction. तो कब chemical reactions होता है, ये चीज आपको कैसे पता चलती है, right? So there are various ways by which how we come to know, right, whether a chemical reaction has taken place or not, right? Okay. तो सबसे पहला चीज, first of all, number one, there will be a change in state, right? So I'm going to write this down. There will be change in state. Okay, fine. Second जो होता है, second one is the change in color, right? मतलब color में थोड़ा सा change आता है, change in color. The third one is the evolution of gas. Evolution of gas. Okay, I'll explain all of these characteristics with examples, right, as we move ahead. Then we come to change in temperature. We are going to learn something very new here. Change in temperature, right? And then we have a last one known as the formation of precipitate. Formation of precipitate. Okay. तो ये हो गए हमारे 5 characteristics. Okay, so these are the 5 characteristics looking at which we can identify whether the chemical reaction has taken place or not, right? So let's study the first characteristics. Okay, change in state. What is the change in state now? अभी ये change in state होता क्या है? चलो, change in state का मतलब होता है physical state. You already know there are 3 physical states. One of them is solid, the other one is liquid, and the last one is gas, right? So whenever something is changing its state, maybe from gas to liquid, gas to solid, that situation is known as solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. Now let me write a chemical reaction over here. ठीक है, मैं यहाँ पे chemical reaction लिखता हूँ. बहुत simple सा chemical reaction है. This will be what? Change in physical state. Okay, so change in physical state. Let me give you one very common example. Okay, change in physical state. तो एक बहुत ही कॉमन एग्जांपल है हमारे पास, वो है हाइड्रोजन, H2. हाइड्रोजन इज अ गैस, ऑक्सीजन इज आल्सो अ गैस. व्हेन आई कंबाइन दीज टू थिंग्स, व्हाट डू आई गेट? आई गेट H2. मुझे क्या मिलता है? H2. Okay, now just look at this. Now whenever I write a chemical reaction, I'm going to tell this to you, right? Equation कैसे लिखते हैं, how to make it an informative one. Hydrogen is a gas, oxygen is also a gas, but the water that I'm going to get here is what? Is liquid in state. तो यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? See, look at this. These were the reactants were gaseous in nature, and then here what am I getting? I'm getting a liquid. So that means what is happening here is that the physical state is completely changing. So this is one example of a physical state, right? Okay, let's go the next one. मेरे पास एक गैस है CO. What is the CO, by the way? CO का मतलब होता है कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड, right? It's a very harmful gas, कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड. Okay, बैलेंसिंग एंड ऑल वी आर गोइंग टू डू दिस. आगे जाके हम लोग करेंगे. यहाँ पे 2 डालते हैं, यहाँ पे 2 डालते हैं. व्हाई डू वी पुट दिस 2? वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी इन आवर अपकमिंग लेक्चर्स. ओके, सो कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड, मेरे पास एक कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड है, और यहाँ पे मैं क्या करता हूँ, यहाँ पे अगर मैं इसके साथ और एक हाइड्रोजन डाल देता हूँ. कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड जो होता है वो एक गैस होता है, H2 जो होता है वो भी एक गैस होता है. इनको अगर मैं कंबाइन कर दूं तो मुझे मिलता है दिस वन, CH3OH. मेक श्योर whenever you get any new compound, make sure you jot the formulas down. फॉर्मूलाज को जरूर लिख के रखना, दैट इज वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट. तो यहाँ पे ये जो आता है इसका नाम होता है मिथानॉल. तो ये जो मिथानॉल, ये कार्बोनेट कंपाउंड्स वाले चैप्टर पे आप बहुत ज्यादा इसको पढ़ने वाले हो, राइट? थोड़ा सा एक बार देख लेना. मिथानॉल, नाउ इफ यू लुक एट दिस मिथानॉल इज अ लिक्विड. So here what we are getting is, we are getting the gases, but in return what are we getting? We are getting liquid over here. So what is happening now? There is this physical change, the change in physical state which is taking place, and this is one example of change in physical state. Okay, let's move ahead now. आगे बढ़ते हैं, right? Let's move ahead. Now the next example, next set of example that we have is the change in state, change in color, right? तो अभी हम लोग आएंगे change in color पे आते हैं, change in color. Okay, so when I talk about change in color, what are the change in color? Now see, there will be some एक color में थोड़ा सा हल्का सा change आ जाता है, right? And how is that change? We'll understand about this. ठीक है? Okay, let me give an example. ठीक है, एक example यहाँ पे मैं आपको दे रहा हूँ. ठीक है, I take this lead oxide Pb3O4. Okay, now this is solid in state. Okay, मैंने क्या करा, what am I doing to this is I'm heating it. See, I'm writing down the reaction. Okay, I'm writing down the conditions which is taking place above this one. Okay, above the arrow. ठीक है, what is this? This is lead oxide. Okay, this is lead oxide. Now the color of this lead oxide is basically nothing but it is red. The color of red, this one is lead oxide is red. Fine. Okay, तो अभी यहाँ पे क्या हो जाएगा, what will happen now? This lead oxide, whenever I react it, whenever I heat it, what happens? I get something PbO. Now this PbO is also solid. There is no change in state, but what is happening here is, okay, this is yellow. The color of this lead oxide is yellow. Okay, देखो, these two compounds are different. Okay, जैसे कि ये वाला compound जो है इसका नाम होता है lead monoxide. The name of this compound is lead monoxide. This is lead oxide, that's fine. Okay, that's fine, but the other one is lead monoxide. साथ में what happens, what else is actually released in this process? There is some oxygen gas which will be released in this particular process. This oxygen gas will be released in this particular process. So ये जो है arrow upward direction, what does it indicate? It indicates that there is an evolution of gas. Okay, so this is one example of the change in color. Color में एक हल्का सा change होता है. Let me give you one more example. You have studied this in your junior classes, right? Take copper sulfate and put an iron nail inside it. Right, put an iron nail inside it. You will observe this particular change. What happens actually in this situation is that copper sulfate is green in color. Right, copper sulfate is green in color. Right, this is nothing but this is known as copper sulfate. Right, ये जो है ये liquid होता है. This is solid. What happens now after some time? What will you see? What will you observe? You will observe a change. And what is the change is? You will see we'll get FeSO4. FeSO4 is a liquid again. It's an aqueous actually. You won't do what is aqueous, by the way. वो आगे जाके हम लोग ये करेंगे. Plus what we'll get copper over here. So here this iron oxide, right? This is green in color. इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं iron sulfate. Sorry, we call it as iron sulfate. यहाँ पे ये जो नाम आ जाता है ये हो जाता है हमारा iron sulfate. And this is copper. So what is happening here in this situation is that there is a change in color every time this reaction is taking place. So this change in color characterizes that chemical reaction is taking place. Let's move ahead. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now, as we move ahead, we'll go to the next one. Our next example is this one, right? क्या था? Evolution of gas. Right. Let's go for the next one. Evolution of gas. Right. Evolution of gas. Let's talk about this evolution of gas thing. What is this evolution of gas? See, simple cheese, zinc. Take example of zinc. Zinc is in the form of granules. ये याद रखना है. Zinc जो होता है वो granules के form पे आता है. We call it as zinc granules, right? Okay. So this zinc granules, whenever you mix them with sulfuric acid, we put them in acids. What happens? You will always see there will be zinc sulfate, and at the same time there will be this hydrogen gas which will be released. Okay, this is liquid, right? And this is one aqueous. Aqueous का मतलब होता है solutions prepared in water, right? Solutions which is prepared in water. They are not originally, okay, they are not originally liquid, but yes, they are prepared in water, right? So what happens now? Here you can see there is a gas which is released, right? There is a gas which is released. And this gas which is released, this actually characterizes that chemical reaction is taking place. Let me give one example from the previous thing that we have studied. मेरे पास ये था Pb3O4. This was lead oxide. when I heated it, what happened actually? When I heated it, what happened? I got lead monoxide and I got what? I got oxygen. So this oxygen was liberating out. So that means this is an example of evolution of gas. फटाफट से इस चीज को नोट करते जाइए. Every time whenever you are doing this, if you have not noted, go to the previous screen and take a screenshot of all those things that you have studied. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's move ahead. Now the next one, the fourth one, I guess, right? Yeah, the fourth one. The fourth one was what? Nothing but the change in temperature. तो change in temperature में क्या होता है? देखो, change का मतलब क्या होता है? टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज भी हो सकता है, टेम्परेचर डिक्रीज भी हो सकता है. तो इंक्रीज होने से क्या होता है, डिक्रीज होने से क्या होता है, दोनों के केसेस में हम लोग इसको पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है, तो चेंज इन टेम्परेचर. तो व्हाट इज अबाउट दिस चेंज इन टेम्परेचर? नाउ लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दिस. ओके, चेंज इन टेम्परेचर के केस में क्या होता है? सबसे पहला चीज देखो, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल when I say change, there can be this rise in temperature, there can be a fall in temperature. Right, either there can be a rise in temperature and the other one is there can be fall in temperature. अच्छा, तो अभी यहाँ पे rise in temperature में क्या होता है, fall in temperature में क्या होता है, उसको क्या बोलते हैं? We are going to deal with it. Okay, now look at this. What happens now? ध्यान से समझिए. ठीक है, I take something known as calcium oxide. Right, let me take calcium oxide and I put this calcium oxide in water, H2O. मैं यहाँ पे calcium oxide को water में डालता हूँ. ठीक है, calcium oxide is found in solid and then what do I get? I get it in liquid. ये calcium oxide का नाम होता है quicklime, चूना, quicklime, right? Okay. So when I add this, what do I get? I get calcium hydroxide and then there will be a lot of heat that will be produced. तो यहाँ पे मैं साइड में बगल में लिख देता हूँ heat. ठीक है, तो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर? ये जो चीज आता है इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं स्लेक्ड लाइम. वी कॉल इट एज स्लेक लाइम. इफ यू लुक एट दिस, हीट इज प्रोड्यूस्ड हियर. हीट इज प्रोड्यूस्ड का मतलब हो रहा है द टेम्परेचर इज राइजिंग इन दिस केस. तो हियर व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. हीट इज इवॉल्व्ड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रोसेस. हीट इज इवॉल्व्ड, राइट? क्या हुआ? इफ द हीट इज इवॉल्व्ड दैट मींस टेम्परेचर इंक्रीजेस. temperature increases and entire thing, right? And entire thing. तो ये जो प्रोसेस जो होता है इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं एक्सोथर्मिक रिएक्शन. क्या बोलते हैं इसको? व्हाट डू वी कॉल इट? वी कॉल इट एज एक्सोथर्मिक रिएक्शन. ओके, इसी को हम लोग बोलते हैं एक्सोथर्मिक रिएक्शन. आगे बढ़ते हैं. लेट्स मूव अहेड. नाउ suppose for example, if I give you another example, तो ये था हमारा exothermic reaction. So I'm repeating myself again. When I add quicklime to water, what do we get? We get slake lime, that means calcium hydroxide, and there's a heat which is produced, right? So during this process, what is happening? There's a heat which is evolved, that means heat is produced, in short, right? या फिर I can also say that the temperature is increasing. So this process is known as exothermic reaction. Exothermic reaction is a reaction, right, where heat is produced. That means there is an evolution of heat. Great. Let's move ahead now. Let's move to the next one. Under this, I've explained you about the rise in temperature. Let's understand the fall in temperature. मैंने क्या करा? What have I done? I've taken this calcium carbonate, right? इसको और एक नाम होता है limestone. Now to make it react, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to heat it up. मुझे क्या करना है? इसको heat करना पड़ेगा. I can write this heat. Like now you might be wondering, okay sir, what you have done, like in the previous case we have seen you have written the heat over here and now you have written the heat down here. See, listen my dear, it does not make any difference. Okay, it's still the same thing only, right? ये same चीज ही है. ठीक है, आप ऊपर लिखो या फिर ये बगल में प्लस देके हीट लिखो, it's the same thing only, right? As long as you're mentioning the like conditions, it's fine, right? So calcium carbonate, heat. When I heat it up, what do I get? I get calcium ऑक्साइड प्लस CO2. अभी यहाँ पे देखिए, यहाँ पे भी गैस इवॉल्व हुआ है, right? There is a gas which is evolved, right? Now this is also a characteristics of this one, right? Evolution of gas. But यहाँ पे आप देखिए, मैंने यहाँ पे हीट को इन्वॉल्व किया हुआ है, right? What have I done? I have made this heat absorbed here. हीट का एब्जॉर्प्शन हुआ यहाँ पे. देयर इज अ डिक्रीज इन टेम्परेचर, राइट? तो यहाँ पे मैं लिख देता हूँ हीट इज एब्जॉर्ब्ड. हीट इज एब्जॉर्ब्ड right? Temperature falls, right? तो ऐसे kind of chemical reactions को what do we call it? We call it as endothermic. Okay, I can call this particular reaction as endothermic reaction. I hope this is getting very much clear to you. तो चेंज इन टेम्परेचर पे हम लोगों ने पढ़ा एंडोथर्मिक रिएक्शन और एक्सोथर्मिक रिएक्शन. एक्सोथर्मिक का मतलब होता है द प्रोसेस इन विच heat is evolved is called as exothermic, and the process in which heat is absorbed evolved अगर हुआ तो इसका मतलब एक्सोथर्मिक, अगर एब्जॉर्ब हुआ तो इसका मतलब उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं एंडोथर्मिक. Okay, let's move ahead now. Now we come to the next part, the formation of precipitate. Okay, now this is the last one. This is the last observation of all the lot. Okay, so formation of precipitate. Okay, formation of precipitate. Now look at this, the next part. तो यहाँ पे मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, I'll take something like this one. Okay, PbNO3. PbNO3 क्या होता है? Like I'm telling you, whenever you're getting any new compounds, make sure you try to write down this one. Okay, you try to write down all of their formulas. ये जो compound है इसका नाम होता है lead nitrate. Right, this is lead nitrate. Now remember one thing, lead nitrate, okay, it's colorless and I'm reacting it with something known as Ki. I'm not balancing it now. मैं balance नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं आगे जाके इसको balancing करूंगा, ठीक है? Ki. Now both of these are aqueous. What do you mean by aqueous? Aqueous is nothing but a solution which is prepared in water. Okay, what do you mean by aqueous? Aqueous means a solution which is prepared in water. So what happens now when I reacted them? I took a 2 test tubes. मेरे पास एक test tube था and one of the test tube is filled with lead nitrate, and then I took another test tube and this was potassium iodide. ठीक है, potassium iodide. Okay, I took two substance. One of them was lead nitrate and the other one was potassium iodide, right? Okay, so what I did, I took this one and I put it inside the other one. What happened? Suddenly you will see that the entire mixture starts getting yellow, and you will see that slowly that yellow color will start settling down. यहाँ पे जो येलो कलर जो होगा वो क्या हो जाएगा, वो धीरे धीरे नीचे सेटल होने लगेगा. एंड व्हाट इज दैट येलो कलर? That yellow color is nothing but it is lead iodide. Okay, now this is known as lead iodide. Now this lead iodide is nothing but it is that yellow precipitate. Okay, so I'm going to write here yellow PPT, and then at the same time what am I getting? I'm getting is here is KNO3. You'll understand how this chemical reaction is taking place once you go through this entire class 10 chemistry. Okay, so I hope you understood all the things. Let's do a quick recap of what we have studied till now. राइट, फटाफट से हम लोग इस चीज को एक बार रिकैप कर लेते हैं. राइट, या सो व्हाट डिड आई एक्सप्लेन यू इन द बिगिनिंग? मैंने आपको आप सभी को क्या समझाया था? इन द बिगिनिंग आई एक्सप्लेन यू अबाउट द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ अ केमिकल रिएक्शन. राइट, there are 6 ways by which you can identify whether chemical reaction has taken place. First of all, there will be this change in state, right? Then will be the evolution of gas, change in color, change in temperature and formation of precipitate. पहले आते हैं हम लोग चेंज इन फिजिकल स्टेट. चेंज इन फिजिकल स्टेट पे हम लोग को दिखने को मिला, आई टुक दिस वन H2, राइट, आई टुक O2, both are gases, but when I made them react, what did I get? I get something like this one, right? What did I get? I get something like H2O, right? So here again I'm giving an example. Carbon monoxide, it's a gas. H2 is a gas. What do I get? I got something like methanol. Methanol is another gas. Okay, great. I think it's cool with everyone. Then we move to the next one, change in color, right? Okay, we move to the next one, change in color. Change in color में मैंने आपको समझाया था lead oxide और lead iodide. Lead iodide is red in color, right? Lead iodide is red in color and lead monoxide is yellow in color. So what do I get? I get some color change, and that color change is characterized by this green. Let's move ahead now. यहाँ पे देखो कॉपर सल्फेट, मेरे पास कॉपर सल्फेट है. कॉपर सल्फेट वाज sorry, copper sulfate was not green actually. I wrote it something wrong over here. Copper sulfate is blue. Okay, so sorry, my bad. Copper sulfate is blue actually यहाँ पे, तो blue color है. And iron sulfate is nothing but iron sulfate is green in color. So what happened basically is that when I added iron nail to this copper sulfate, what happened? The color changed from blue to green. So this is another example of the change in color. Let's move to the next one, evolution of gas. When I added जिंक, जब मैंने जिंक को क्या किया, जिंक को सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड में मैंने जब ऐड किया तो व्हाट डिड आई गेट, आई गॉट एन हाइड्रोजन गैस विच वाज प्रोड्यूस्ड, दैट मींस देयर इज एन एवोल्यूशन ऑफ गैस। तो यही होता है हमारा एवोल्यूशन ऑफ गैस का एग्जांपल। यहाँ पे लेड ऑक्साइड देखिए, लेड ऑक्साइड को जब मैंने हीट करा, व्हाट डिड आई गेट, आई गॉट दिस लेड मोनोऑक्साइड एंड सम अमाउंट ऑफ ऑक्सीजन वाज रिवॉल्व्ड, दिस इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एवोल्यूशन ऑफ गैस। आते हैं अभी हम लोग नेक्स्ट पार्ट पे, चेंज इन टेम्परेचर। चेंज इन टेम्परेचर पे दो चीजें होती हैं, राइट, देयर आर टू थिंग्स दैट इज हैपनिंग व्हेन इट कम्स टू चेंज इन टेम्परेचर, ईदर देयर कैन बी राइज इन टेम्परेचर, देयर कैन बी अ फॉल इन टेम्परेचर। तो राइज होने से क्या होगा, फॉल होने से क्या होगा, तो दोनों को देखते हैं। कैल क्विक लाइम को मैंने पानी में ऐड करा, what did I get, I got slake lime and then some amount of heat was released. So here what is happening, the heat is evolved, so the temperature will increase, that means exothermic reaction is not taking place। जो रिएक्शन जो हो रहा है उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं एक्सोथर्मिक, दैट मींस हीट इज इवॉल्व, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक। देन वी मूव टू दिस वन, कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट। कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट को मैंने क्या करा, हीट करा, देन व्हाट हैपेंड, आई गॉट कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड प्लस दिस वन, राइट। व्हाट इज दिस थिंग, यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, हीट यहाँ पे एब्सॉर्ब हुआ, टेम्परेचर यहाँ पे फॉल हुआ, पूरा प्रोसेस को हम लोग बोलते हैं एंडोथर्मिक रिएक्शन। These were examples of change in temperature. And the final one was formation of precipitate. I took a lead nitrate and then I added potassium iodide. When I took a lead nitrate and added potassium iodide to it, both are colorless. Okay. लेड नाइट्रेट का फॉर्मूला देख लो, स्क्रीन पे दिया हुआ है, पोटेशियम आयोडाइड का फॉर्मूला देख लो, वो फॉर्मूला में दिया गया है। व्हेन आई एडेड बोथ ऑफ दीज, व्हाट हैपेंड एक्चुअली, लेड आयोडाइड का क्या हुआ, लेड आयोडाइड का एक प्रेसिपिटेट नीचे फॉर्म हो गया एंड पोटेशियम नाइट्रेट स्टार्टेड कमिंग। That means these are the ways by which chemical reactions are identified. I hope you understood this video. If you really like the video, please make sure you comment down your queries, right? Make sure you comment something, comment anything on this video. Make sure you like, make sure you share it with your friends who can also get benefited from this video. So thank you everyone. See you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Keep studying.